Bungalows radiate cozy charm and timeless simplicity, each offering a unique and inviting atmosphere. Today on Homeworthy, we visit 3 bungalows that prove just how much you can do with a small space, from a Georgia home defined by eclectic design to a funky and bright one in Los Angeles. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. To shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy episodes, be sure to check out the product links below for amazing furniture, accessories, and more.
Hey Homeworthy, I'm Latham. Welcome to our family's cottage here in Georgia. Come on in. My name is Latham Gordon, and welcome to our home that I share with my wonderful husband and 2 sweet girls and our tiny little puppy. We are in Decatur, Georgia, right next to Atlanta, Georgia, in a tiny little 40s bungalow. And we've lived here for right at 10 years. And we love our tiny little house that packs a lot of punch, so welcome. I'm an interior designer with Gordon Dunning Interior Design, and my partner Kate Dunning and I founded it right at 9 years ago. And we do almost exclusively residential interior design. We do a few small boutique offices here and there, which we enjoy. But the heart and soul of what we do is residential interior design, because we love working with families, with individuals, with people as a whole, and hearing stories and taking those and creating spaces that exemplify those and help families continue to create such memories around those priorities. This is a 1940s little cottage. It was a post-war home. It's very tiny. It's a little shy of 1,300 square feet, and it really packs a lot of punch within these tiny walls. And it's a very hard-working home. It is very flexible and really hugs us in all the ways we need hugging. We first started looking for homes in the Decatur area when we found out we were pregnant with our first daughter. And we knew we wanted a space that was small enough that we could be a family in it and spend a lot of time together, but also had some space for growth. And we found this little home. Our wonderful realtor took us to 2 or 3 homes, and we're like, no, no, no. And we walked in this one, we walked through to the backyard, and we're like, we're done. How do we put an offer in on this house? Because it meets everything. And you know, it certainly aesthetically was not the finishes wise where we were gonna end up. Welcome to our home. You are in the living room. This is the main space where we hang out as a family with friends, and it's the space you enter as soon as you come into the house. So this presented us with a lot of design challenges, but I hopefully think we found a lot of solutions. Because it has so many traffic patterns, with the main entryway being there, the entry to the dining room, and all the bedrooms off of here, we really had to think carefully about furniture placement and then build out the pretty stuff from there, if you will. So in the overall space, we have a sofa here. In my dream world, I wanted it back there, but you would be walking right into the sofa from the front door. So we left a traffic pattern behind, and it makes it really intimate, and it still makes it so we can fit 6 people comfortably in here. So we've got a sofa, we've got these beautiful chairs that I love, love, love. In fact, it's a really sweet story. One of the wonderful girls at our studio, I had ordered these chairs, and it was in the depths of COVID, and they were taking forever to get here, and she didn't tell me that they had arrived, and I came home one day and there they were. And so I was very excited. But I love the fabric. It's a performance fabric, and we've got kids and dogs, and I want things to show some love over time, but I want them to patina. I don't want them to look destroyed. And so it was really important to me to have a performance fabric, but that it also feel comfortable. Wanted to add a little funk here. We have lots of layers. I try really hard to do really classic upholstered pieces and then layer some funky fabrics in on the traditional as well. There's a mixture of textiles here. I love textiles. I come from a family of people that just love tactile things, whether it's hardwood or whether it's fabric, whether it's made in the United States, whether it's made in India. And so I somehow have ended up, I'm a very large collector. I'm not a hoarder, I'm a collector, it's curated, with a whole bunch of textiles. Some have come from family, I pick them up when we travel, but this is a pretty Suzani that we have, and then we've got a really pretty Indian block print throw draped over the living room sofa, another beautiful alpaca throw on the other chair that lives in the window. And what I love about them is they do add a coziness factor. It's very important to me to have a space where when people walk in, they want to curl up with a glass of wine or they want to curl up with a cup of coffee and feel welcome. And so having throws and blankets and texture around, I think really encourages that. I have an addiction to both artwork and mirrors, and they collect and collect and collect, and so I have to really be intentional about putting them up. But this particular mirror, it's a federal style mirror, and actually there are a few things in the house that have a similar tale. It is from a show house that we did, and we wanted two ends of this big porch to have some reflection to them. And so we ordered these two Whopper mirrors, and at the end of it, we were like, what do we do with these? And I was like, I want one. And Kate was like, I want one. And so here she is. What I love about her is that she's a she, I've decided. She's convex, and so she reflects all of the light, which is really important because we don't have giant windows in this house, and I do love natural light. So in each room, I try to incorporate some mirrors because it really helps throw the light around and really helps lighten up the space. And so that concaveness also reflects the space and the light throughout. It's flanked by two paintings that I love, love, love. We were traveling in Paris and went out to the flea markets one day, and we were freezing. I mean, it was so cold. I'm a wimp about the cold, but it was freezing. And we went out there and found this one little tiny dealer, and she had a heater. So we crawled into her booth and went through and just came out with piles of stuff. And so these were two of my absolute favorites that we came home with, some vintage Parisian pieces. Then this is probably the main focal point, or this is the main focal point of this room. So when you come in the front door, you see this immediately. And if you're looking straight onto the sofa, you see it. And I have a lot of artwork that I've collected over the years, some gifted, some picked up on trips, etc., that I wanted to display, but also we had these beautiful panels. So we did a show house project and we had 5 of these panels and didn't know what to do with them. And so, like I said, we've got a few things that have this story. And so brought them home, and my darling husband helped hang them on the wall. So we created this panel across and then actually wired through them to add the sconces, because we also needed additional light in here because there's just the one window. And because I didn't want to mess those up, we used this gallery rail system. There actually wasn't a dealer locally that did it, so we actually pieced it together with different drapery pieces and some antique hooks and chain and created this gallery rail, so I didn't have to put any holes in these beautiful panels, and they're easily change outable. So they've each got little hooks on the back, so you can just pop them off at any time and then piece them back together. That's actually another piece from that same cozy little place in Paris. But this is just a wall of stories from our lives. I mean, this is West Point. My father went to West Point. There's a couple of pieces that are seascapes that were my grandmother's from an artist that she loved. There's one of our daughters asked for a picture of Santa for Christmas one year. And so this is Santa flying over our little cottage. And I have a very similar one. I don't know where my child got this idea because it truly wasn't from me. But there's a similar one that Santa gifted me when I was a kid of the house I grew up in that I pull out at Christmas. And then that's a piece I did in college. I mean, it's just a mix match. And then this piece is one of my favorites. Our youngest daughter did that. And so we framed it up real swanky for her. Another space, well, this is right in front of the door when you walk in. And I think I mentioned how important it is that, especially in a small house, that it work for you. And this is an important piece of how it works for us. I have a big irritation when I have to trip over shoes, and apparently I'm the only one in my home that has this problem. And so we came up with this storage solution here. So all of our shoes go flying under there, and then our girls are bigger now, but this old desk that actually my husband found pops down, and they can sit down, put their shoes on for the day and head out, or shove them under there when they get home, so nobody has to trip over them. And then this is one of my favorite pieces in the whole home. When my husband and I were married about 3 years, he was in the Army and went to Iraq for 13 months. And during that time, I was finishing up graduate school. And so for graduation, he mailed me this beautiful rug, and it tells the story of 1001 Arabian Nights. And I just love it so, so much. And had to have it framed. I think some people might have rolled it up and shoved it in a closet or kept it in a drawer, but for me it was so special it had to go on the wall. In fact, it was framed by the framer we used when I was growing up. And I took it to her and she said, "You're not going to be able to afford this if I stitch it on for you. So you need to come stitch it on." So I actually went to her framing studio and stitched each one of those on so that I could afford to have it framed on top of it all. And then a couple other things here. This is when I was a rising freshman in high school. This wonderful family that I'd grown up with, my ballroom dancing partners, grandparents, they always took their grandkids on some huge trip every year. And this wasn't something that, I got to grow up with as an opportunity. And they came to my parents and to me this one summer and they said, "Look, we have planned this trip for all of our grandchildren to come with us, and a couple of them can't come. So would you like to come with us to Russia for a 2-week trip?" And I was like, "Excuse me?" And so it was a life-changing event for me. It really ignited my passion for travel, and made it so it's got to be part of my spirit and my soul forever. And so when they were downsizing their home, the family got me this, well, we bought it, but got this wonderful muse. So this is my little travel muse lamp that sits here and just reminds me as I go out the door each day what some of my passions are. This is one of my favorite spots to sit in the house because you can sit here, you can look out into the street. It's a really comfortable chair. And then it's also got this really pretty backdrop, which is fun to do. So when we moved into this house, there were these tiny little floating shelves about this big. And as mentioned, I'm a collector, and that was not enough space for me. So we took those down, and then my husband built these super thick, actually, shelves because I knew I was going to load them up with stuff and I didn't want them to warp or wear over time. And so he put these in. We did a lot of things ourselves in this house, you'll see. So if you see any imperfections, just know it's me. I don't blame anybody else. But he built these, and they've been so integral to storing things, to displaying things, and I really think they help tell our story in this room where we spend all our time, which makes me really happy. It showcases a lot of collections. I got this crazy idea in my head and decided that I had to do this, and no one would ever do this for me. So I got ribbon and framed out each one of these shelves and then hand hammered in each one of these little nail heads. And I think I gave myself some sort of carpal tunnel in so doing, but I love the way it turned out. It's got some imperfections, but to me, that's the handmade nature of it and why I love it so much. Another little thing that we did here when we built these, our original plan was to have some doors down here, but again, with the tight space that we have, opening doors was going to be questionable. There were going to be parts we would never get to, and then sliding doors, you can only get to so much. So we just skirted this, and this is where all of our games and puzzles and chaos live, just right behind there. And just put a little cafe curtain rod in there, and it has been a nice little British style detail that we've added that is also really functional for a space this small. So now we'll move into what we jokingly call the slash room. This is probably the hardest working room in our house because it is the library slash playroom slash art zone slash. It serves so many purposes. And because of that, when we first moved in, we believe that this used to be the porch. And I don't know if the owners right before us changed it over or if someone before them did. But it has a glass door on it, which I love the architectural feature of that. But if you have a guest staying, that's a little weird that they have no privacy. So this is actually, I have to give my husband full credit on this idea. We put a shutter on it so that when it's just us here, we leave it open so that we get the light coming through and you can see through to the library, which I think is a really beautiful view in the house, especially when I'm sitting on my spot on the sofa. But we leave it open most of the time, but when guests are here, then they can close it for privacy, and then it fully functions as a guest room for them. We love using this room. We really do use it a lot because it serves so many purposes. This is where guests stay. It's a twin bed, so guest, but it can pull out and we can turn it into a king bed, but it makes it so you can't get around it. So really it's just one guest at a time, which is actually kind of what happens. Otherwise, we've got a pull-out sofa and some other things that we can do to accommodate overnight guests. But most of our guests that are coming for overnight are a grandma. And so that works out great. But we've got all kinds of books stored in here. That my biggest collection other than artwork is probably books, because I come from a family of book collectors, not hoarders, as well. And I've gotten a lot of hand-me-downs from my grandmothers, from my mother, from my father. My husband loves books as well, and our daughters adore books also. So there's a big collection of kids' books that are on a height where they can grab what they want and need. Their toys are all stored down in the bottom and in a constantly overflowing basket in here, which is fine. This was actually a bed that we bought. It was just a twin bed with some storage underneath, because in a small house, all the storage you can get. And it was just really plain and simple and just really disappeared in the room. But I really wanted some softness and some cushion in here. So my husband and I built this headboard and then fastened it in to the piece. So it became a whole bed and really became a day bed. So it feels more user-friendly on a daily basis. This nude, I fell in love with it in a little vintage store locally, and it didn't have a price on it. So I was like, man, I really like that. So I left it at the counter. I was like, call me with the price. And so they called me and she said, all right, yeah, it's $16.99. And I said, all right, well, I'll think about that. I didn't know if $16.99 liked her. And then right before I hung up the phone, I said, wait, where's that dot in the price that you just gave me? And she said, after the 6. And I was like, I'll be there in a minute. So she was $16.99. So popped her in a frame and she's very dressed up now. Again, with my small space, needing a place to put books. This is a piece that actually, we painted it. Probably one day I'll strip it again. But this was in my grandfather's law office, and it's a rotary bookcase. And so it's meant for, if you have the luxury of a big corner, that you can have your books on it and rotate it like a library. we have no luxury of any corners in this house. And so currently it's shoved against the wall with actually the unattractive books on the back that we don't need to access, like my photographs from high school. Don't need to see those all the time. And it helps store those last little bit of books that we couldn't quite fit. Adjacent to this bedroom, thankfully, is a little bathroom, so this really can be a good guest suite. And it was the very first thing I wanted to rip apart when we bought this house, and I'm so thankful that I didn't, because now it's one of my favorite things. We jokingly call it the ladies and landscapes bathroom, because every piece of artwork somehow that went on the wall in there is either a portrait of some woman or it's a landscape. And some of them are travels, some of them are artists that people may know, and some of them are artists that nobody may know. One's a student at the elementary school that we bought at an auction a couple years ago. And then there's a painting that the big one is a painting that my paternal grandmother did of the home that my mother grew up in as a gift to my other grandmother one year, which is pretty cool. And so there's all kinds of goodies in there to look at when you're in the living. This is where we eat almost all of our meals as a family. Well, if we're not on the porch, then we are in here. If it's too cold, because I'm a wimp about the cold, or it's too hot, because some people in my house are wimp about the heat, then we'll be in here. But sometimes we're on the porch, sometimes we're here. But I love, love, love this room. This was the first room in our house that I really feel like we completed, and so it has a special place in my heart because of that. Somehow just the collecting of things led to this room being finished first. So we didn't have really a spot for a proper bar, so we have a secretary, which I'll tell you the story about, but we've set it up as a bar, and it holds all of our linens, etc. as well. But it's a very flexible piece. It does a lot for us. We store a lot of our glassware up in there, and it's kind of a mess, but you know, that's why it doesn't have glass on the front. That was intentional to have a secretary that didn't have glass on the front. But this piece actually is kind of a funny story. I went to an estate sale, and they had so many beautiful things, but it was the last day and a lot of things had sold. And I loved the secretary, but it was locked shut. There was no way to open it. You couldn't tell if the inside was a piece of junk or beautiful. And so I was hesitating, and I was like, I don't know. So I left, and I actually called my parents, and I was like, man, I was just at this estate sale. There's this beautiful piece. And my dad was like, why didn't you buy it? And I was like, I don't know. He was like, you should go back and look at it again. And my dad is not he was not the kind of person that encourages you to go just spend money. So I went back and I looked at it, and then by then they had marked everything that was available half price. Still, I was a little bit like, Finally, somebody was swirling around it, threatening to buy it, and I just bought the sucker, even though I couldn't get it open, and had a locksmith open it, and the locksmith cost more than the actual piece of furniture. But it has been one of my favorite things that we've bought. It's just got some really pretty finishing to it, and it was owned by some pharmacist, Dr. Pendergrass, back many years ago. And so it's just fun to have a little piece of history, even if it's not our family's history. The whole room, design-wise, was really built around this piece of artwork. I grew up in a small town in South Carolina, and there was this one really lovely restaurant downtown, and we went there sometime when I was in college, and I looked around the whole space, and it was filled with these gorgeous abstracts, and I just fell in love with them. They looked almost like seahorses or sea dragons and underwater scenes, but very abstracted, and I don't know, it spoke to me in some way, and I just carried that around in my heart. Fast forward to about 12, 13 years ago, somewhere in there, maybe a little longer. Time is going quickly. But anyway, I was working at my first design job in Atlanta, and my boss was the artist that created these pieces that had been in my hometown's restaurant. And so for Christmas one year, everybody banded together and I went on a scavenger hunt and everything, like as a 30-year-old looking for this piece of artwork, and it blew me away. So I've loved it. It's such a statement piece. It's the largest piece we have in our home. But John Ishmael is the artist, and he holds a special place in my heart and a beautiful piece in our home. I am a china collector, and it is just, I love beautiful china. These are a couple of my favorite pieces. My mother gave me these. These were her mother's before her. And it's just a tiny little collection of these itty bitty plates. And then I've got a serving piece, and then I have two different sets, a white and a cream, of gold rimmed china of different spots. And I just mix them with all kinds of fun stuff that I find. I love mixing together different patterns because it means every table is different. And when you're having a dinner party, or even if you're just having dinner with your family and want it to feel fun, it's different every time. And I love that about china and about being flexible with whatever you've got and mixing and matching. This piece right here was my paternal grandparents. It was one of those things where she was giving it to me and I was like, I mean, that's all right. It's okay. But it had wooden shelves and it didn't have the mirror in the back, and it was just a really dark piece for display. And so at some point we put mirror in the back and had glass shelves made, and it totally transformed this piece. So if, someone's handing you down a piece that's not really your favorite, just think of all the things you can do with it, because I've loved it. And now it displays all of our things, part of our, that are supposed to be in a dining room, if you will. But then it's also got some shell collections and oyster collections in there as well. But I love this piece. I have a brass candlestick collection. Part of it was my grandmother's, my maternal grandmother's, and then part of it is my own addiction as well. The drapes in here are a fun story. When we had our second baby, it was just a really big transformation for me, from having one child, having two children, and she had a nice little dramatic entrance into the world. But when I got back to work, my business partner, Kate, was like, you want those drapes? You've been carrying that fabric around in your bag for 2 years. Could you just get the drapes? And so this is my gift from Kate. This is my push present from Kate for our second baby. And then these little French pieces here, I tell you what, I filled up my house with this one wonderful dealer. These were little sketches that someone had done, and they were all on different pieces of paper. It just was somebody's scrapwork, but I just fell in love with them. And so took them to the framer. Each one got cut out and then framed individually, and it really elevated them because, I mean, it was a couple of euros to get them. But now that they're all framed up, they feel, pretty fancy. I think that a home having a soul is critical, to people feeling welcome, to people feeling comfortable, and really connecting with your home. And therefore with you, really, because if people come into your home and they feel comfortable and feel welcome, then they're gonna wanna be there. They're gonna want to spend time with you in those spaces. So it's a really important part of design. All right, now we'll head to the kitchen. So the kitchen is not my zone. My husband is absolutely the cook in our family. I am embarrassingly terrible in this room. I can toast things. I can kind of make eggs. I can boil water, mac and cheese. I'm telling you, this is not my special place. But my husband is great in the kitchen, and so he spends most of his time in here and makes it good. But when we first bought the house, there were these really dark cabinets on the bottom and then floating shelves on the top. And that does not suit me because I have too much stuff that needs to be hidden away. So originally we added cabinets, upper cabinets above all that was existing. But then a few years later, we did a little mini renovation where we opened up the doorway between the dining and the kitchen. And then when we were doing that, we realized that there was a door we knew there was a door here. There was a door on this wall that was going up to the attic, and it was preventing us from really having a fully functional kitchen and having a proper pantry. And so we moved it over into the dining room actually. And so there's now a passageway up to the attic there instead of in here. And so then we were able to add all of these cabinets here, move the refrigerator down here so we get a larger fridge, and then put a proper pantry down at the other end. And when we were doing that, I love mixing finishes. I think it feels more organic over time, that it has been collected. And so we chose to do all white cabinets when we integrated those. And then that's when we painted everything else this kind of muddy, greeny gray color, so that it had some weight, it had some history to it. We replaced all the hardware and then put some unlacquered brass hardware on the new so that it felt a little older, because I love that unlacquered brass gets that patina over time and really starts to kind of turn green and have spots on it. And it's also very conducive to a lifestyle that already has kids and dogs in it because it's part of the story instead of it's a mess. But Jason spends a lot of time in here. I just come in here and drink wine and tell stories, honestly. At a dinner party, my job is to make the table look good, and Jason's job is to actually make everything taste good. So we stay in our zones. Well, this is where we spend pretty much all of our time. So a few years ago, when we first bought the house, let me back up. When we first bought the house, there was this tiny little postage stamp porch here with a big trellis over it. And it was dark and it was tiny, and really you could sit out there, but that was it. And it was covered in stuff all the time because we've got a lot of big, beautiful trees in our neighbor's yard, and they dropped all their beautiful leaves and gook and stuff all over our furniture out there. So one January, my husband's a professor, and he was like, man, I still got 2 weeks left till I go back. I'm gonna build us a porch. I was like, yeah, okay, brah. That sounds great. So he ripped it all down. And I mean, I came out here maybe 2 days to help, and it was 18 degrees and my fingers were white after about 15 minutes. And I was like, I don't know how you're doing this. You're way tougher than I am. Long story short, he built this whole porch for us, and thank goodness, because it really increased the size of our house. It's literally half of our house again. And so it gives us a really, really large living room where we can gather, 8 to 10 people comfortably. And then it also gives us a dining space where we can dine that many, because it's really important to me if we're having a dinner party, that the same amount of people who dine can also sit, because you got to go somewhere after and before dinner. And so I want everybody to be comfortable the entire time. So we first got these sofas. They were part of, you guessed it, they're part of a show house situation. And so we were specifying them for the Atlanta Food and Wine Festival. And since we knew that meant that people were going to be drinking wine on them, etc., we went ahead and got outdoor sofas. So these are outdoor sofas. They're fully washable. I can zip off all the slip covers, throw them in the wash, pop them back on. I do that a couple of times a year. Other than that, they're just here. Pollen season, you kind of gotta vacuum them a little bit, but that's all. But they're so comfortable. We live on them. This is where we have movie nights, game nights, just laying out here to read. The girls love each having their own sofa out here. There's just a lot more open. So, and you're with nature, which we love nature. We love hiking and being outdoors and birds and gardens and all of that. So them getting to be out here and listen to the birds and spotting the birds is really fun for them too. So we have the living room side, and then we have the dining room side. So for the dining room side, this is actually a relatively new addition. When we first did the porch, we put nothing over here. There were a couple of easels for kids, and that was all. And it was their big place that they could run and play, because we didn't have a large room for them to be able to do that. So it was awesome because they could do whatever they wanted art-wise, and I just hose it off. And we didn't have to have rules out here, and that was so lovely. And now they're a little older, and so we've popped a table up here, and it's not a fancy table. It's one that requires a tablecloth if you're having friends over, but I can rip it off and the kids can still do artwork here and make a big old mess. And we can fold it down if they want to ride roller skates or whatever wildness they want to do out here. But it keeps that flexibility. But we have loved having a big table out here because we can seat so many more people. And it's just really comfortable dining as long as it's not, you know, dead of summer or dead of winter. So this is set with some of my favorite little things, including these beautiful pottery plates that my husband and I had thrown for our wedding. Instead of doing everyday china, we did pottery because I just love the texture and story that that has with it. And then these are actually a couple, and this is a set of napkins. I was on this trip as an alumni trip for Savannah College of Art and Design, and it was in the south of France, and we went one day to market. And I was going through and I wanted a set of napkins, and you know, I kept seeing them and they were pretty and blah, blah. They had my initials on them. So I had to buy them. So they came home and I love them. They're just so beautiful and thick and rich and have so much history to them, which I love, love, love. I love fresh flowers. We don't have a large cutting garden or anything. I'm working towards it though. Have a teeny tiny one in the front yard. But we have a very shady yard, so it's kind of difficult to do. But I love flowers, and one day there will be a giant garden, probably when someone builds a house next door and takes down one of my shade trees, and that'll make me sad. But I'll get a garden out of it. But part of my therapy, if you will, was about midnight last night I was doing these flowers. So if I have extra bags, that's why. But I love doing flowers. Some of these were gathered on a roadside. Some of these come from a florist, but it's a mixture. And I just love having fresh flowers anytime I can in the house. I think it gives such a specialness to any occasion. What I love most about our home is how it works for us. Obviously, I love the beauty of it. I love the little details. I think there are two things, and I think two things really resonate. And one is that when I look around, almost every single thing in our home was purchased with a purpose and was brought into our lives by some sort of story, whether we picked it up on travels, whether it was my great-grandmother's, whether we went to some ramshackle place in Savannah and picked up this mirror from a burning building. There's many stories, but when I look around the house and I see that shell that we got when we were on that special beach vacation, it means something to me. So that's one piece. And then the other piece is that it does the functions we need it to do. It hosts the right number of people in our dining room or in our living room. And if we have a bigger party, then we spill out into the back porch, and then we can seat more people. And so it works for all the ways that our family loves to be on a daily basis, loves to entertain for special occasions, and that is extremely important to me. So this is our bedroom, and it is a teeny tiny little thing, but we love it. We've got a queen bed in here and bedside tables. And again, with a small room, we wanted as much storage as we could possibly get. So we each have our own bedside tables, which are chock full. But then instead of a long dresser, because it was a tight room, we actually originally had a long dresser, and it was like trying to get through. It was not good. Not good planning. It's just what we had. So when we finally sat down and really thought about how we use this room and how we could better use this room, we thought, let's both get a secretary, because then we've each got storage, and most of it's hidden, and it gives us a little bit of space at the foot of the bed. And so then we put a bench there because I always have stuff. And so there's piles of magazines and shoes and gosh knows what else on here all the time. And so Jason, he picked his up on his own. He just came home one day and said, oh, I got myself a secretary. So that was his. This one I got at Scott's from a super quirky little dude, and I have loved it. I think the burl is so beautiful on it. It's a really, really pretty piece, and it was one that I saw it and loved it and was afraid to ask the price on it. And when he gave me the price, I was like, oh, I might could do that. So I said, let me think about it. And So walked around for a little bit and was like, I have to get that at that price. It was so beautiful. And I have really, really enjoyed it. And if you open this, it's very dangerous because things will fall out on you. But I think at the end of the day, it ended up being $850. And I thought it was going to be well over $2,000. And I was like, and $1,000 was my threshold. And so he's, well, yeah, it's going to be, 900. And I was like, oh, okay. I can do that. That's below my threshold, actually. And so then I walked around. I was like, if I offer him 800, I'll get it for 850 and I'll feel really good. And so that's what I did. And then I didn't even have a car big enough to take it away that day because I was not truly planning on finding something within my budget that day. And, the universe brings you the things you're supposed to have, not usually on your own timeline. My bedside table is from one of our favorite dealers at Scott's. They're out of Athens, Georgia, and they always have beautiful things, and they're an absolute delight to work with. And actually, it was really funny. I had gone on this quest. I was like, I am going to find us bedside tables, and had very specific dimensions that it needed to fit in so that we could still get into our closet, still fit in our room. And they're very odd dimensions for historic pieces. So when I was talking to my husband about it, I was like, it needs to be this big. And he, without even telling me, went to Scott Antique Market one day and called me and he was like, I'm going to send you pictures. I think I found you a bedside table. And it was just the sweetest thing because it's not, his world that he lives in, but he also does understand it and know it, but it's not what he does every day. So it was just a really kind, thoughtful thing to do. And that he had found it from one of our favorite vendors made it even better. But it's an 1860s English piece. And I have so enjoyed it. And it's just beautiful. It's got gorgeous inlay. And it has been an excellent addition to our antique collection here. The rug's a funny story. I told you I'm a big fan of estate sales. And sometimes people call them estate sales and they're not estate sales, you know what I mean? And I love an estate sale and I love a yard sale and I love them both. However, I just want to know what I'm going for. So I walked into this estate sale and it was not. It was a yard sale. But there were treasures. And that's just a life lesson. Just go on in and start rooting through stuff because you never know. So this was literally folded up in the corner of the garage. And I had been looking for an antique rug and it was not in my budget. And so anyway, I went there, started pulling this rug out and I was like, it's the right size. It's $200. I have to have this. So I knew I was going to have to get it professionally cleaned. So I negotiated down to a whopping $150 and paid twice that to have it cleaned. But it's so cool because it's super worn. It even has one spot where it's just a little too worn, but it's under the bed, so you don't see it. But it has been just a nice treasure and really helped ground this whole room. I think antiques give a weight and a story and a patina to the room that you just can't get with new stuff. And I love new stuff for certain elements, but for rugs, the more often I can get an old one, the better, because I do think it really adds a lot. And I will say this too, they're more durable. They also hide stains better, but they're more durable. If you spill something on them, it's so much easier to get it up than anything that's not a natural fiber. And it's just been a real workhorse for us, and I love it. So we'll walk across the hallway to the girls' room, but this is actually one of my favorite parts of the house. I love photography. I did a lot of photography as part of my undergraduate degree, and so I'm always with a camera. Now we're always with a camera, but even before that, I always had some kind of camera on me to take photographs of special events, but also of places and travel and all that as well. So with that being said, I love black and white photography particularly, and so this was just a plain hallway. It's got our little laundry closet, and it connects to a lot of things, so I really wanted it to feel special, and wallpaper was something that I considered, but this is something I'm really passionate about, and so it's sort of wallpaper on its own. And so we've got all kinds of black and white photographs of our family's adventures and trips and daily events, and even a couple of, professional shoots when we do those. But it's a good mixture of things that have happened in our lives, and I just I love looking at them every day. So now we'll go into the girls' room. They share a room and they love it. And I'm gonna love that as long as they do. And one year for Christmas, they both wanted canopy beds. We'd been reading a lot of books where the characters had canopy beds and they were very passionate about wanting those. So they asked Santa Claus for them and he delivered. And he brought these canopy beds, and because I'm a designer, they were too short. They were only like this tall and it made the room feel short and that bothered me. So we went to the same place that refinished our base of our table and had these poles made and painted and finished to make them really tall. And then my husband built these rectangular pieces to go on the top because the canopy beds didn't have a top to them. They just were shaped that way. And so created these big rectangles, and then we upholstered them in fabric. And then actually on top, we bought these little bed skirts and just popped a bed skirt up there. And so that's what these are pre-made bed skirts that are just flopped over the edge to add that sweet little scalloping that you see. And then the headboard, those were actually drapes that were in our room once upon a time, and I just saved them because I loved the fabric, but didn't have a place to put them. And so we made that the headboard and hung them on the backside so that they are uniform there too. And each girl has their bed and they have their little zone. They have their own little desks that they use, but they share a lot. And I really admire them for that because they really are sweet girls and they really share well, and I'm very appreciative. So they like having their own space. Our oldest is really passionate about learning the piano, so she moved one into her bedroom, and I aesthetically don't care for it, but functionally I really do. I love that she wants to play the piano so much that she wants to roll over in her bed and do it. So I will get no aesthetic complaints there because it makes me happy that she wants to play there. So I was born in Panama, and so there are a couple of different pieces in here that are from either when we lived there when I was an infant or when we traveled there when I was an adult. But we've got some Panamanian molas. We've got some just beautiful paintings from there. That's where that one's from. And then a family friend of ours is in the State Department, and he lived in Haiti for a while. And this is actually a Haitian piece that he brought back for us. That a robot was done by our oldest. That was one of her pieces. Jason picked up that piece that hangs between their beds. And then my favorite piece, maybe one of my favorite pieces in the whole house, is this piece that hangs here. And it's Guatemalan and it's a calendar, but we bought it on our honeymoon. And we had kind of a funny honeymoon story. We were supposed to go to Belize, but we got married in hurricane season. So we went to Belize for a night, and then we evacuated to Guatemala, which is actually where we both wanted to go, but my husband's dear friend was from Guatemala and he had never been with him, so he felt guilty about that. So anyway, we got to go and see Belize and Guatemala, and we went back to Belize at the end of the week. But it was just kind of a wild, wild ride, but very exciting because we got to go to Guatemala, which we wanted to do. And this is just an incredible piece of embroidery. It's an amazing textile, and I treasure that piece. It's such a good memory. And we hung it in the girls' room so they see where our love started. It makes us happy. This home means a lot to me. This is the home where we've brought both our babies home. It's the home where we have built all of our at-home family memories. And it really is a reflection of who we are, what we love, where we've been. And I feel like it's helping us build special memories. You think about where you unwrap your Christmas presents. You think about where you have your birthday celebrations. And I love that for us as adults, but also for our girls, that they will have these walls as the backdrop of their memories, that they will remember sitting in this particular chair in the living room when they're watching TV or reading a book, or, you know, I love that each piece will somehow subliminally or otherwise be in their minds, but then overall that the home feels cozy and welcoming and is a big part of our story as a family.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Alana. Welcome to my home in New Jersey. I can't wait to show you around. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name's Alana Oates, and we are at my home in Haddon Heights, New Jersey. This house was built in 1912, and my husband and I have been here almost 10 years. We bought the house together before we were married. I had already fallen in love with the Zillow listing before we even saw the house. It definitely needed our touch, but we saw the potential even just from the Zillow photos. So we had already really fallen in love with it. We hadn't been considering this exact neighborhood, but we had been looking in the surrounding neighborhoods, and once we saw this, we just knew it was it. It's an Edwardian bungalow. We have a big, beautiful front porch, and the living room that we're sitting in right now is definitely the focal point with a big original fireplace. So this is our living room. We don't have a formal entryway. You just walk right into our front door into our living room. And we really wanted this space to feel very cozy. One of our favorite things about the house is the fireplace. So we just wanted everyone to be able to kind of gather in front of the fireplace on the big sofa and on these two cozy chairs. On the mantle, we have displayed these little pieces of wallpaper. We actually found these behind our radiators, and this was the wallpaper that was originally in this room. We just found this recently, and we are planning to replicate this wallpaper and carry it throughout the room. Just because we love the idea of kind of staying true to the original homeowner's intent of this house. We have a beautiful piece of artwork from my good friend Samantha McCurdy. This is one of her pieces. We have some books. This is actually one of my sketches from college in life drawing class. We have many curiosities on these bookshelves. We have a little book of Picasso. We have a beautiful photo of our wedding day here also. We have some books that I've been collecting over the years. Some things my husband has found also. He's a big fisherman, so he's always on the beach. So we have this driftwood here. These little ashtrays you'll see throughout the home. These are actually frequently gifted to me by friends because they're little like Moroccan shoes, and I think they were once used for like one single cigarette ashtray, which I feel like is very glamorous even though we don't smoke. So these chairs actually came from my grandparents. They have a condo on the beach, and these were part of the house when they bought it, and then they ended up being gifted to us after they got passed around a little bit. And I absolutely love them. We just put these shearling furs on them to make them like a little bit cozier. But as you'll see throughout the house, we have a lot of like chinoiserie, Asian art vibes. So I feel like these were a perfect fit. So this panel, actually my mother found in a vintage store, and it ended up being the perfect kind of key piece for this room. We really wanted something larger in format to take up all of this space, and we love the colors. I love gold and brass accents, and the green was like such a beautiful pop. We had always kind of been drawn to green, so this piece actually informed the sofa we would get, and we did go with a green leather sofa, which we absolutely love just because it's a little bit different but feels very true to our style. So these quilts, again, are, you'll see throughout the house, these are all made in Jaipur, and they're traditional block printed quilts. And I just absolutely love them because they're so cozy. And we actually have some blocks too that I can show you, but if you don't know much about block prints, each color has its own hand-carved wooden block. So these are truly a labor of love and just something I love to decorate with. This pitchfork is something my mother found. I believe it's hand-carved and Amish, and I've never had to use it, but I imagine one day it would be a good way to like shuffle an unwanted guest out of the house. So this area is my daughter's play area. Her little Vespa is something she just got for Christmas, and it has not touched wheels outside yet. She really just uses it to go around the house, and it has a music feature and everything. So this is something she loves. She has some cool little things here, things that I found in India for her. And this awesome, I believe these are called water puppets. This is from a good friend of mine that found it in a vintage store. These are the wooden blocks I had mentioned before. This is actually what they use to make the traditional block prints. So each color that you see in a block print has one of these hand-carved blocks. This is her designated spot. We keep all of her craft things kind of in one area because she loves to explore that. But really down here, we're kind of trying to, now that she's a little bit older, she's 5, we're trying to get her to have most of her playthings in her room and then just a few curated, really special pieces down here. These chairs I actually found on Facebook Marketplace, but I think they're just so sweet. They're all hand painted. My daughter's been adding some of her own painting to them, but they're really sweet. They're just her size, and I fell in love with those. This rocking horse I actually bought in a vintage store before my daughter was born, and she uses this all the time. She actually likes to stand on it while she's, you know, playing, and it's so funny. I have all this compilation of video of her standing up on here and doing tricks off of it since she was like 3 years old. So the hardwood floors in here are original to the house. They are like faded in some spots over time, and initially when we bought the house we thought we would refinish them, but I actually love the warmth that it brings into every room. So we haven't touched them yet, and I just think they're warm and vibrant and really beautiful. So when we first bought the house, it definitely needed some help getting back to its original roots. The owners before us had painted over wallpaper, they had put a lot of modern light fixtures in, they had even tiled over carpet. So little by little over the last 10 years, we've really been kind of stripping the house down and getting back to its original roots and its original tone. So we've really tried to stay true to the architecture of the house. So as soon as we walked into the house, the kitchen was the first thing that we wanted to get to, but it actually took us until 2021 to tackle the kitchen project. But the really interesting thing about this house is every project that we've started, we've uncovered a little bit of the original intent. And the most interesting thing that I'll show you when we look through more of the rooms, but we've had an idea in our mind about what we wanted to do and the design that we had planned. And then once we uncover a little bit, we find that some part of our design that we had in mind is actually part of the original plan of the house. Something I love about the home is that my home office is right behind these doors into the living room. So come with me and I will show you. I love that I'm able to sit here at my desk and still view the living room. So if my daughter's out there playing or my husband's in the living room relaxing, I can still feel like I'm part of the fun, but I'm on my laptop doing work. This is one room in the house where I can really let my creativity be wild, and I can make a total mess in here and then close the doors and it doesn't bother anybody. So typically this room is just an explosion of creativity. I have everything I'm working on my shelves, as well as things that inspire me. These are some of the shoes that I've designed and some fan art that we have here that I absolutely love. This here is actually from our factory when they silk screen our logo and our shoes. Just how you see it here, and they gave this screen to me, and it's one of my most prized possessions. I absolutely love it. The artwork at the top came out of my grandmother's home, and it was always something I really loved in her house, and it just, I feel like, really pulls everything together here in the office. And then I just have some really fun things, some accolades I'm proud of, and some things that just give me a lot of inspiration. This rug is absolutely amazing. I love the blue in it, and I also love the pink. This is actually my favorite color, is like a dusty rose, and that is our brand color also for Lonnie. This rug was given to me on loan from one of my best friends. It was her grandparents, and I've had it in here for about 10 years, and I hope she never asks for it back. So when we bought the home, I actually moved right after we bought the house. I moved to San Francisco for 2 years. So my husband and I had a long distance engagement, and he was in the house making improvements. So I always say he notebooked me. He added central air, refinished the upstairs. This was one of the pieces he bought for me while I was gone, and he just knew I would absolutely fall in love with it. I already had this beautiful lucite chair that I had gotten at a flea market in this room. I knew it would be the office. So if you see, the chandelier actually has a lucite ball at the top, which ties into the lucite desk chair. This desk is, I would call it vintage. I think it's actually Bombay Company from the 90s, but before I was a designer, I was a waitress for years. And one of my favorite regular customers actually trash picked this and refinished the whole thing for me. So I absolutely love it. It will never leave this room. It's perfect for everything I need, and I just love that special gesture. It was so sweet and so kind, so I absolutely love this desk. Just recently, I found this kind of quirky piece, but I absolutely love the mix of colors here. I'd love to know more about this piece, actually. Right now I don't know anything, but I think it's just so fun, and I love the colors. The panels on the wall, I believe I got at a vintage store, and they fell in with the chinoiserie vibe. I think they've moved around the house several times, but this is their final landing place, and I love how they play off of the wall color too. This wall color is called Peachy Beige, and it just reminds me of my brand, and it's one of my favorite colors. I absolutely love it. Follow me this way, and I will take you to the dining room. Here we are in the dining room. This was another room that completely sold us on the house. We love the bay window here. We love the tall ceilings. When we first walked into the house, this room was painted like a dark burgundy, and it was painted over wallpaper. So we had a lot of stripping and paring down to do in this room, but now it really just feels absolutely perfect. We love how many people can fit at this dining room table. We love the original features, like this china cabinet. So the blue willow is something that I just keep getting gifted. You know, when you have that one thing that you love, then your family just goes out and showers you with it. So that's really special. I love so many of these pieces. Some of these teapots and things have been from both sets of my grandmothers. They had very similar tastes. So I feel like the things that I've acquired from both of them really fit with the era of this house, and it reminds me of them. This candelabra always comes out at Christmas time, and it's just so fun and cool. This golden tray is actually one of a set of 6 that was also from my grandparents. We also have these little fun spoons and forks that a girlfriend of mine gifted me from Thailand, and these always come out at tea time. My daughter has her little realistic tea set in here as well. These two tall back chairs, we actually bought the chairs right after we bought the house. And originally they were like a yellow, very raggedy upholstery. So this was my Christmas present this year from my mother. She got them reupholstered for me, and I just absolutely love how they turned out. We use a local upholsterer named Louise, who's absolutely incredible. And I just love the fun mix of texture that it brings to the room. Over here we have this lovely bar cart that I found in a vintage shop and just fell in love with it. We had something similar here, but I feel like it really ties everything together with the golden accents. I love this little rail on it. And above the bar cart we have one of my favorite portraits. So around the house you'll see we have quite a few portraits. These are done by my great uncle. His name was Napoleon, and he was a wonderful artist. He studied at PAFA in Philadelphia, and we're lucky enough to have quite a few of his pieces that we absolutely loved. So he passed away a couple years ago, and my aunt has gifted us his pieces. So we actually used this portrait to find our wall paint color here. So typically I change the place settings seasonally, but I had this piece of block printed silk from India, and I absolutely love this print. It reminds me of like a 70s retro floral, and it has that raw silk feel. And I thought just with the brown chairs, it really brought in this very cool vibe here. So I love just having draped fabrics around the house. You'll see this brass teapot is just one of my favorite pieces. It's so fun, and I felt it deserved its centerpiece moment here. So this banquette here was from my mother. She gave it to us a couple years ago. These are little elephant salt and pepper shakers that are made in India that a family friend actually gave to my mother, and I stole them from her a couple years ago. I think they're just so sweet. These sconces were from Goodwill. I bought them and I thought they were real brass and tried to polish them up, and the finish came off. So I rub and buffed them back to their bronze beauty stage now. When we host, we go anywhere between going all out and keeping it really casual. One of my favorite events that we host every year is our New Year's Eve sushi party, and we just have neighbors and our other family friends over, and the kids go wild in the living room having a dance party, and we just order a ton of sushi and spread it all out on the table, and it's so much fun. When we entertain, we typically have wine on this table, so that's why it's kind of set up with wine glasses and everything. And we have these wonderful little finds here. This is actually a piece of silk art that I bought outside of the Amber Fort in Jaipur. And this little piece I found at the Gem Palace in Jaipur. And then I believe my mother thrifted this little set and gave this to me a couple Christmases ago, but I absolutely just love how the gold details shine against this darker paint color. When I picked up that little cabinet in the office just recently, the woman that I bought it from was selling all of her great aunt's items. Her great aunt had just died, so she actually gifted me some of this artwork that's in the room, and it was just absolutely perfect. I couldn't say no, and she was so sweet and generous, so now that has its little place here also. One other fun detail in this room is actually the drapery. This is all Belgian linen. The same uncle that I mentioned who was the portrait artist, he also owned a sampler brand, so he used to print needlepoint samplers back in the 50s. And when he passed away, we found bolts and bolts of this original Belgian linen. So I've been repurposing it to the best of my ability. It's absolutely beautiful. And I had these curtains made a couple years ago. I started designing shoes back in 2009 while I was still in college. I went to school for fashion design, but I was just drawn to accessories from my first experience working with them. I loved, heel shapes and leather qualities and all the different things that you could do to design a shoe or a bag. I just instantly fell in love. So I worked in the corporate world for about 9 years before I started my own brand. And now with my brand, we manufacture everything in female-founded and family-owned factories in India. So we do a lot of hand embellishment and a lot of block print work, and we mix a lot of patterns and textures and colors, and I feel like even that informs the decor of the home too. So before I show you the rest of the house, I'd love to show you the sunroom. This is the room where my family and I spend most of our time. So here in the sunroom, we have a lot of these original windows which really just sold us on the house. This was a room that we absolutely fell in love with when we first bought the home. When we first saw it, it was carpeted, and we kept a dining table in here for quite a few years, and we only just recently redid this room. So one of the funny stories is when my husband and I were planning this little renovation, we were both definitely set that we should have a checkered floor. So we had been sending each other inspiration about the floor. Originally, we were going to tile. And when it came time for us to renovate, we had already bought the materials and everything. And underneath the carpet and the subfloor was actually the original checkered floor. So that's just one of the other stories in this house. It seems like every time we strip away what the previous owners have done and we get down to what the original owners had done, it's something similar that we already had in mind for the house. So just love that story. We really wanted to be able to kind of cozy up in here, so we have our little electric fireplace, but it just makes this room at night very vibey and very cozy, and we absolutely love it. Previously, when we had the larger table in here, my husband and I were always like gunning about who would get the chaise. So it's so nice now that my daughter, my husband, and I can all be in here relaxing, playing games, reading a book. We usually have, music on in here, and it's just such a nice, relaxing space. I do not have a green thumb. All of these plants are cared for by my husband. He is the plant daddy of the family. He can really bring anything back to life. This fig tree, one of my friends was putting in the trash because she thought it was dead. So we brought it here to rehab it, and it's been here ever since, and it is like totally thriving in this location. But the plants just love it in here. This room gets so much natural light, and my husband is amazing at taking care of all of them. So again, my vibe is just very eclectic. So we have this olive green chaise that we've actually had since we first started living together, but I've draped it with some textiles, again from India, and some beautiful Moroccan pillows and things. We love decorating with these, shearlings just for the cozy vibe. I recently just found this coffee table, and this is actually, the top comes off like a tray, which is so cool. I have yet to use it for entertaining, but I think it could be so cool to do something with that. The black squiggly mirror, as I mentioned, we try to, work in a little bit of modern touches, and that is one of them I just recently got, which I love. The house smell is always very ambery. We love, Palo Santo scents. We love the smell of incense. We have incense matches kind of everywhere throughout the house, but usually anything warming. This is a tobacco and bergamot, but I love anything with like an amber vanilla undertone. So in the sunroom, we were very fortunate that we have these radiators. These are actually radiators flanking the sides of the room. So we didn't have to insulate this room at all. However, when we were picking out the flooring, my husband and I had both wanted to do tile. And if we were going to do tile, we realized it would change the whole feeling of the room, and we would probably have to heat it under floor, which added a couple $1,000s to the cost. So we actually went with cork tile. And with the cork, it's actually thermoregulating, so we didn't have to add any underfloor heating with the cork tile. And we absolutely love the look. It's very similar to the original floors that were in this sunroom, and it looks like wood. It feels earthy, but it also feels a bit modern and cool. We absolutely love that this room is just the perfect room to snuggle up together with a book and enjoy the snow day that we were fortunate to get yesterday. It just feels so warm and inviting in here. So now I would love to take you to my second favorite room of the house, which is the kitchen. One thing I love about this kitchen is the double action door. We don't use it very often, but it's such a cool feature of the home. We just renovated this kitchen in 2021, and it had been one of the first things on our priority list, but it was one of the last things we got to. However, I'm just so thrilled about how it turned out. We were really able to get everything that we wanted out of this space. We had a large island before, but it just took up so much room. So we feel like adding the peninsula or transitioning it to a peninsula just allows us to all have a place to sit down and enjoy a meal. Everyone's always congregating in the kitchen, so it feels great to be able to have enough space for everybody. This mirror is something I've just had around forever. Originally, we had planned for a shelf here, but I just love mirrors in the home. I feel like it elongates everything and it just adds another feature. So it's really fun to have this mirror here. We always have fresh fruits in the kitchen. I love having a bowl of citrus or oranges out. The footprint of the kitchen was relatively small, but we really wanted to try to maximize the height. So we chose to have this beadboard going all the way up. It feels like what would originally be in the home. We changed the placement of the refrigerator also and did this counter depth French door refrigerator. We waited almost 20 months for this refrigerator to come in because it was post-COVID time. So we lived out of a mini fridge for over a year, and we're so thankful to have this. One thing that the home didn't originally have is a pantry. So I definitely wanted to make sure that when we redesigned this kitchen that we had a great big pantry space. We actually are able to have some of our appliances in here too because we added power in the back. So it's just the perfect place to put everything, and I absolutely love the height. We chose to do a wood finish here, so it almost felt like a piece of furniture rather than just being more cabinets. So we were really fortunate that the exact color that we had in mind for this cabinet was available. So these olive cabinets came in this color from the manufacturer. And I just wanted to create, again, like almost the idea of height and the idea of just being surrounded by the built-ins. So we did choose to paint the wall the same color. My contractor thought I was crazy, but I just absolutely love the effect, and I'm so glad that we did it. So over here, we added this shelf with, again, another mirror just to give it height. We loved having these sconces in the original design, and on this shelf, we have some of my favorite pieces from a ceramicist local to Philadelphia. Her name is Peyton, and she has Cloud9 clay. So the stool was my mother's. These beautiful trays with, again, the oranges. I actually thrifted them in Florida. We were decorating a house down there, but I knew that they just belonged in this kitchen, so I brought them home. Originally, there was a big old radiator here, and when we did the renovation, I found these radiators that are made in Europe that I absolutely love. So still keeps this room very toasty, but it's more of a streamline effect. And we had always wanted a place to just plop things down. So my handbag is always in this basket. and then our keys and sunglasses usually get thrown on the table. So these leather stools, we had been looking for something for this space for a long time, and we actually did originally have these beautiful solid wood swivel stools. And one day my daughter and I were sitting on one, she was on my lap, and we heard a big crack and we both hit the floor. So those had to be replaced, and we found these beautiful, these are actually Target. And I just love the mix of texture that they bring to this room. Again, the warmth coming in from the wood and the leather texture, and they're just great. They wipe clean easily. They're not too precious, and we love them. Definitely my style is eclectic, so I kind of love everything. I do love modern design, but we've infused it just in very small ways into this house so that it feels right. And the feeling that I want someone to have when they walk into this house is almost how you feel when you walk into your grandparents or like a very well-traveled older couple where they have little treasures from their travels and little things that they were, you know, picked up or gifted. I love that eclectic feel. My husband and I love to travel, and I travel to India often for work, so I'm always picking up little pieces and splashes of color and interest to add to the home. So from here, I would love to show you the bedrooms. We have a few on the second floor, but we also have a guest suite in the downstairs, and I'd love to show you that next. This is the guest room. We love that it's on the first floor because our bedrooms are upstairs, so it's really nice for the guests to feel like they have their own space. We have a bed in here that was originally my great-great-grandfather's, and we're so lucky to have it. We haven't had to refinish it at all, but it's just such an amazing piece with this curved footbed and the ornate headboard, and it's just the perfect piece for this room. We also have another portrait that was done by my uncle. We have a big debate in our family about who it is a portrait of. Nobody knows, but it's really beautiful. And again, we let this portrait kind of inform the color of the room. In this room, we chose to paint the trim and the molding the same color as the walls, just to make it very serene and just a very calm, relaxing place to be a guest. So just a little velvet bench. Typically, this room ends up being a little bit of our changing space too, because we don't have a coat closet. So typically that's where my husband's sitting to put on his work boots and my daughter's getting dressed. Also on the bed, we have a kantha quilts. These are also something I always try to pick up when we're in India. These are all made from recycled cotton saris. So they're typically either patchworked, like this one. They're typically, you know, a mix of fabrics, and they're different on one side from the other side. They're actually made from layers and layers of cotton. So as they get worn, they actually wear away and sometimes reveal a pattern that's underneath what you see on the top. So typically when someone's staying with us for the evening, I try to have everything cleaned out. I get all of our personal items out of here so it can just be their space. I always make sure the bed is a good reflection of what season we're in. So, you know, if it's holiday time, we'll have a little bit different color and pattern happening. Typically try to have fresh flowers or some sort of foliage in here. And I'll put towels in this basket at the foot of their bed so they feel like they have everything they need in this room. This beautiful peacock chair is something that my mother found for us. She's a big, you know, thrifter, antiquer, everything. She gifted this to us a couple of years ago, and it has floated around the house quite a bit. For a while it was in the sunroom, but I think this spot just makes it perfect. So the guests have a couple different options of where to sit and make themselves comfortable in this room. So let's head upstairs and I will show you the primary bedroom and my daughter's room. So this is Vivi's room, my daughter. And this room is just so joy-inducing. We all love spending time in here. We've made it really special for her. One of my best friends is a print designer. She actually made this wallpaper custom for Vivi. So that's really special. She has this antique piece here that feels like the rest of the home, but also feels very girly and feminine and fun. This mirror was one of the first things I bought for her nursery when she was a baby. I just absolutely love the detail of it. She also has her beautiful own kantha quilt here. This was a gift from one of my vendors in India. So pretty. Her bed is actually, it was my bed at one point when I was younger, and I love how the color that I chose to paint it when I was younger even works with the color of the wallpaper now. So that was something really cool that we could hold on to. She has this little tent area here where she spends a lot of time reading. This beautiful pillow was made by one of my friends, Allie. She has a very cool company called FemWorld, and she actually hand tufts all these pillows, which is so amazing. We love that her bedspread is like a nod to, you know, vintage chenille. We always have birds playing in this room because it feels like it makes the wallpaper really come alive. It plays all day. It's just so comforting. It's her alarm. So when she wakes up, you know, she has like a white noise machine that she sleeps with overnight. And when she wakes up, her alarm is the birdies. We call them the birdies. But I just let them play all day because I feel like it's so comforting and nice. She's 5 and she talks about she talks about painting the walls purple and having like a unicorn room. So I think we're probably a couple years away for her to have her own full-on renovation. One of my favorite pieces in this room is this disco unicorn head that my friend Allie made, who has the company called FemWorld. She did this for her birthday, and it's just so epically amazing. When the sun comes up in the morning and we open up her shades at a certain time of the year, the light hits it perfectly and it just cascades light all over the room. It's so beautiful and so special. I really think putting your own imprint somewhere is something that makes a home come alive. I see so many houses that maybe look cookie cutter or the same, or, you know, people being afraid to explore color or texture or pattern. And I really think if you love something and you want it in your home, just don't be afraid to explore that. All right, let me show you the primary bedroom next. Come with me. So this is our room. One of the first pieces we bought for this house before we even had settlement on this home was this brass bed. And again, we were very optimistic when we bought this bed. I think we put it in storage for a couple months and it had gotten completely patinaed. So it took us about 12 hours and several power tools to get it to this shine, but we absolutely love it. And it's just so fun. So this piece really informed the overall vibe of the room. I partnered with fellow Homeworthy alum and dear friend of mine, Michelle Gage, to decorate this room. It was part of a one-room challenge quite a few years ago. And we had so much fun collaborating on this space. Something that we had fallen in love with was this wallpaper. And it has like a metallic sheen with this beautiful purpley gray. So that was one of the second pieces that we put in this room that we absolutely love. This quilt is from India. This isn't a vintage kantha. This is like a newer kantha. So this is something that's printed with new fabric, but it is also hand stitched and hand finished. These pillows I bought in India also. They're silk and they're hand block printed, and I just love the checker pattern on this one. And these have like a subtle metallic printing in there also. So they just feel really eclectic, and I'm fortunate my husband lets me decorate with so many feminine details because I really love it. The rug in here was from my grandmother. She had bought this when she was redoing her house many, many years ago, and when she moved into, an assisted living, she wanted me to have this rug, and I'm so thankful because it really pulls everything together in this room. I love that there's black, but then there's also this purple. There's the robin's egg blue which we've tried to kind of enhance by some little details in here. This wall is one of my favorite things. It's just a little compilation of things that are really special to us. So we have our wedding picture here, and then some 3D art, some little Turkish mirrors. Isn't she cute? So when Michelle Gage and I were collaborating on this room for the one room challenge, when we went to take the photos, she had her own little blue bench, and it was so cute, but she would not leave it with me. So I think my mom actually thrifted this piece, and then we got it reupholstered to look like Michelle's piece because I had loved hers so much. This piece, which serves as my husband's wardrobe, was really special. This is a little secretary. My husband has his own point of view and input, but typically, even if when we start a project, we kind of bump heads a little bit about the initial idea, I think he always really trusts me to execute it. And then once it's done, he'll say, "Oh my gosh, you did such an amazing job." So it's not that I have complete free range, but he does trust my overall point of view, which is very helpful. Initially, my daughter's room was the primary bedroom, and that room had access to this dormer. But we decided that this should be the primary bedroom because of the placement of light. It was also closer to the bathroom. So one of the first things we did was open up this doorway so that I could have more of a dressing room space. And upon doing that, we found out that whenever they did build the upstairs, this was the original intent of the house. So this room was originally part of the primary bedroom. So this coat, which I usually have hanging here just because I love the colors, this is something that we designed exclusively for Anthropology. And again, it's India block printed. It has actually a floral quilted texture. And I was wearing this around the house yesterday because I was so cold. It was 20 degrees. And I just love the color there. These cupboards are something that we added. My mother found these in a vintage store in Cape May, New Jersey, and my husband brought them up the steps all by himself, but they really look like they belong here, and they allow me to have all of my closet kind of hidden away, which is great because it can get really out of control. This dress form was my great grandmother's. She was a dressmaker. And one of my great aunts kept this around forever. She's not in the best of shape, but she's so beautiful, and I absolutely love her as a piece in this room. This nude is another one that my great uncle did. I believe this was part of one of his studio studies. I call it the tushy because it's just so cute. The use of color and light there, and again, the checker floor, it's just so cool. It's one of my favorite pieces. So on the table, we have some vintage shoe stretchers. We have my grandmother's little sewing kit that's in this beautiful little pail here. This is all of my jewelry. And then I have this chair I actually got down the street at an estate sale, and I absolutely love the detailing here. She probably needs to be reupholstered, but I love the original fabric, so for now I'm leaving her as she is. This dresser is another item that my husband bought when I was living across the country, and he knew that I would love it, and he was totally right. So this is where I do my makeup every day. This is one of our leather train cases that we make, again, in India, and that has all of my makeup in it, so it's nice that it can just make this space really tidy. The word home means to me somewhere where you're comfortable and you really feel like you can be your authentic self.
Hey guys, it's Amanda and welcome to my West Hollywood home.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi, I'm Amanda Thomas. I'm the owner and designer of Love AJ Jewelry, and today we are in West Hollywood. The way I ended up in this home was very serendipitous. I got divorced a couple years ago and really wanted to take my time figuring out what neighborhood I wanted to live in. I'm born and raised LA. I've always lived on the west side, but I just thought West Hollywood would be so fun, so walkable. I've got a ton of friends here. But finding a house in this neighborhood was a lot harder than I thought. This was the fourth house I put an offer in. I had another one a couple of blocks away. I was in escrow, fell out of escrow. This one, when I walked in, I just felt like this was my house. I even told the realtor that, and she was so sweet and she gave me a big hug. And yeah, I fought to get this house, but once I got it, I just knew it was gonna be my new special home. I think what really drew me into this house to begin with was this gorgeous Australian gum tree in the front yard, and my whole family's Australian. My mom is from Adelaide, and I just was like, that just feels like a sign. And you know, the house was a pretty basic white box, but I just knew the bones were good, and with some amazing paint and fixtures and marble, this place was gonna be amazing. I'm definitely well versed with renovating houses. My sister is an incredible interior designer, and growing up, my mom and dad always flipped houses, so I feel like it's a very natural territory for me. One thing about me, if you know me, I love all my homes to be super beige, very white, very clean colors. But for some reason with this house, I was just kept thinking green. And I found this one paint swatch by Portola Paints called Grape Leaf. And it was just the most perfect green. It's actually my kitchen green. And me and my sister just decided, we're like, let's just go green. So there's a ton of green pops throughout the house, and especially with the landscaping, making sure the landscaping felt like it was part of the home was really important. I think if I had to describe the style of the home, first and foremost is it's really comfy, cozy. I like to use the word cashmere. I just feel like when you walk in, you wanna like get on the couch, get under a blanket, hang out here forever. I also think it is really eclectic. I used lots of green, like I mentioned, this insane purple veined Calcutta viola all throughout the home, in the bathrooms, in the kitchen. The bathroom is this gorgeous green absinthe tile. So I think there is a little bit of fun with the color, but at the end of the day, it's so cozy and comfy and very just like California chic. Welcome to my living room. So I would definitely say this is the focal point of the house. When I first walked in, I saw the skylights. I was like, I love this room, but it needs a little more oomph. So I think one of the first things we decided to do was Roman clay all of the walls, which is this gorgeous Portola Paints color. It's called Serene Thought. I think it just adds a lot of texture to the room, and I like how subtle the color is, but you can still tell that it's green. I'm obsessed with travertine, so this is this amazing travertine console table I got on First Dibs, and then I actually made myself little travertine slabs to put a vintage vase and my Love AJ signature candle. It's the best scent ever. I love this couch so much. This is the Restoration Hardware Cloud Couch. I actually sadly lost my original one in my divorce, so when I moved, I was like, I have to get another one. It's the best investment. It's so comfy. I just went with a really clean perennials fabric, so if you spill stuff on it, it's really easy to get off. And I just decided to pop a little green with the pillows, and then these are these gorgeous Pearson Ward champagne velvet pillows. I think it added a lot of really nice texture. And this piece here is so special to me. My friend Jonathan painted it for me. He was just like, name random things and objects that feel very Amanda. So I did, and he put it together. My dad had Porsches growing up, so I love Porsches. Got a little chain for the jewelry. We've got the palm tree because I love Palm Springs. We go there all the time. So this piece is super special. Also in this room, I've never done this before, but we played with different types of wood. Usually I stick with one, but if you see this table is kind of a lighter wood, and then this gorgeous chair is a little bit darker, and then you get to the bookcase, which is two-tone, and I think it's fun to play with all of the different wood colors. These two pieces are Soho Home. This is my favorite chair. I love to sit here because I can like have my drinks and I can work on my laptop. So this is like my work chair. I take Zooms here all the time. And then the bookcase is so cool, and I just wanted to throw all of my tchotchkes and things that I've collected over time. This is like a little weird crab I got in Bali. This is a pineapple thing I just got in Mexico on vacation. This is from my parents' childhood home. So this is very eclectic. It's my favorite books. Lots of plants too, because I just wanted to feel really fresh and green. And the best part of the living room, which I have talked about before, but this is the gorgeous window. So this actually wasn't here when I first got the house, and I just think it completely changes the entire room. You can sit here, almost feel like you're outdoors. This is an Australian gum tree. It's original to the home. It's very mature, and yeah, I just think it's totally gorgeous. And also you can see back here, I did all these amazing vintage potted plants, lots of greenery, just so it's green on green on green. In the corner here, I have this really cool vintage pot I got in Palm Springs. I go to Palm Springs all the time. I've got a place out there, and I love vintage shopping. They've got the best finds, best scores. So I got this. I liked the height of it, and I felt like I could really command the corner and kind of bring the outdoor indoor as well with the plant inside. One of my favorite pieces of art in the house is this incredible porcelain chainmail piece by Taylor Kibbe. I found her on Instagram. I had her custom make this. I used to actually make chainmail jewelry. Back in the day, I literally worked with this Canadian company that would make suits of armor for movies. So I had them do like chainmail hand pieces and necklaces. So when I saw her work, I was like, I have to get a piece. And I just think it's the perfect thing you see right when you walk into my house. This rug is actually just vintage on Etsy. Etsy has the best rugs, you guys. Really well priced. I thought the red tone would be kind of fun to pick up in the cherry color and also play off with the green as a contrast. And I'm really happy with how it looks with the floors as well. I actually spend most of my time in this room working because I feel like it has such good light. I don't feel crazy if I'm on my laptop all day. The light really changes and I feel like it's such a nice vibe. This is my work chair. But when I have friends over, the couch is where we are at. We are drinking reposado, watching Vanderpump Rules, under blankets. It's the comfiest, coziest spot. I'm obsessed with these sconces, just flanking this gorgeous piece. The sconces are by Henny Pinmade, and they're this amazing frosted glass with wood, which also really picks up on the table and the chair. It's a really cool mixture of wood and glass. Speaking of glass, two of my favorite mirrored pieces in here. First is this table. This has been with me in so many homes. I just feel like it's so quintessential Love AJ. It's covered in real Brazilian quartz crystals all around the edge. It's a bit of a hazard. I feel like if I ever have kids, I probably have to get rid of it, but I love how it looks. And this mirror has also traveled with me to many homes. This is so Love AJ too. I feel like this goes with the theme of Mandy's jewel box, where it has the chain link all around. This is vintage from One Kings Lane. I've been a jewelry designer in LA since I was 14 years old, which is crazy. It's over 20 years, not to age myself too much, but yeah, so I always have a real sensibility with accessories and the tiny details and things. Like I love hardware and fixtures. And when we first started this project, we actually named it Mandy's Jewel Box because it is a really, really tiny home, but it's perfect. It's like the perfect size just for me. And I just wanted to make sure there was like little jewels in every single room. So whether it's the gorgeous chainmail art piece when you first walk in, or the amazing golden mushroom shaped cabinet knobs in my bedroom. Even with the chandelier in the kitchen, that almost looks like it could be like a sculptural stud earring that we made. Or just the kitchen with the mix of brass and green and purple. I just wanted to make sure the home felt like there was jewel-like elements all throughout it. A lot of the sconces around the house too are made from natural stone, and I just feel like that is so Love AJ because that's an actual material I use in my jewelry like season to season. And this is the kitchen. This is the ultimate green room. This is kind of where all the green started, was with the cabinetry. The cabinets are this amazing green color by Portola Paints called Grape Leaf. That was the inspiration for all the green amongst the house. So we did the cabinets in Portola, and then the countertops are the coolest. It's Calcutta Viola, and I did it honed, so it kind of has like a matte finish. I was nervous to have real stone in my kitchen. I usually have some sort of like fabricated top, but my sister told me just lean into it. If you get lemon stains or you spill wine or whatever, it's all about the patina, so that is what I'm going with. I really like this window. We actually added this just to bring in a little bit more light, and I just think in the morning when I'm making my little lemon water, it's just a really nice vibe over here. This plant, like, we just take a moment for this plant. This plant is so gorgeous. I actually saw it on Instagram. It's from the House Plant, Haus plant. And I went to their gorgeous nursery and I picked it up, and I just think it is so beautiful, so sculptural, and really just goes with the whole vibe of the kitchen. When I first got the house, it was giving very like West Hollywood apartment vibes. It was all this really kind of ugly dark walnut. It had the microwave over the oven, which I feel like is so quintessential WeHo apartment. So we took that out, put the microwave down here, and then we actually Roman clayed the hood. So I feel like this really ties in with the walls, but it is a slightly different color, so it differentiates it. I'm not the biggest cook, but I do know how to make delicious crispy scrambled eggs. So I make those every morning. My boyfriend likes to make his pour over coffee. So we do use the kitchen all the time. It's small, but it's mighty. Next is the rug. This is also vintage Etsy. This was, you guys, this was impossible to find. A green runner rug in a very strange size, but once again, Etsy came through. I love this. I think it really grounds the space. It was a little bit too much open area here. And also if I'm cooking and spilling things, the rug catches it, which I love. Another focal part of the kitchen is this insane Calcutta Viola frame that we did. So I opened up this wall to make it a little bit bigger, so it just felt more open coming from the living room to the kitchen. But this was like a last minute thing. I actually saw it on Pinterest and I was like, do we have enough marble to do this? And we did. And I just think it is the ultimate finishing touch to the room. It makes all the photos look amazing. So I'm really happy this turned out really well. So this is the breakfast nook in the kitchen. When I first saw the house, this was so ugly. It was really dark. It had a really lame chandelier. Just was not a vibe, but my sister came up with the concept of doing an actual built-in sofa. And I just think it feels so much more homey and comfy and cozy and cashmere like I was talking about. So this couch is 6 Home. The pillows are Lulu and Georgia. And then this table is really cool. This is actually travertine pedestals that I got, same vintage store in Palm Springs. And I just got a piece of glass fabricated and put on top. So it's kind of nice too when people are here, you can kind of like push it in and out. So it's very convertible. This chandelier is stunning. It's by Sputnik Lights. They're also on Etsy. They do all this gorgeous handcrafted brass. It's very mid-century modern, but I also felt like it feels very Love AJ. It almost looks like they're little shell earrings or, you know, little pendants you can wear on a necklace. When I was thinking about what artwork I wanted in the kitchen nook, I actually found this scarf on the RealReal. It's a John Paul Gaultier scarf. I don't really even understand how you would wear it, but I love framing pieces of fabric. I think it looks really special, and I love all the texture and like ripples in it. So I got this piece framed, and I did this light wood to kind of pick up the wood that's in the living room, and I just think this is so perfect here. This isn't my first undertaking with a home. I'm a crazy person, and I had just finished renovating my house in Pacific Palisades, but once I moved in, I was like, I'm not a Palisades girl, so I was only in that house for a year, and then I moved to West Hollywood. This house is considered a bungalow style house. It's really, really small, but it also has a good backyard and like a little guest house as well, which is very, very typical for this neighborhood in West Hollywood. And welcome to the powder room. So this is my guest bathroom. I wanted this to be moody and be just a fun place to take a selfie if you're over here for dinner or hanging out. Also did Roman clay on these walls, just a much darker green. I had some fun with all of the fixtures. So this is extra of the Calcutta viola that you saw in the kitchen, but we did it polished instead. This vanity plus all the hardware is signature hardware. And I did this really dark bronze because I thought it really pulled out the purple in the veins of the Calcutta viola. So the floors and the shower are actually one of the only things that are original to the house that I did not change. I felt like it actually looked kind of cool, and adding the dark Roman clay on the walls was really gonna make it feel a little more intentional. Let's talk about the mirror. I literally made the whole bathroom based on the mirror. The mirror is by Concrete Cat. They are a concrete company based out of Montreal. And I saw this mirror on Instagram in pink, and I was like, I have to have it. So I had them custom make it in green to try to match the walls. And I just think it's so cool. This sconce up here is also by Sputnik Lights, who did the gorgeous chandelier in my breakfast nook. They just make really amazing, handmade looking mid-century pieces, so I love them. And then this is like this really cute little snake that I got at a local shop down the street in West Hollywood. I just love how dark and moody and special this bathroom is. Now that we've seen the powder room, I'm going to show you guys the primary suite of the house. So when I first got the house, the master bathroom was like a serious puzzle to me. It was an odd shape. The room wasn't long enough to put a proper shower and a built-in bathtub. The shower just felt so tiny. So my sister and contractor came up with this idea of doing a wet room. So the bathroom is just this giant open room with one little glass door, and the shower and the bathtub are in the same area, and I just feel like I'm in a literal spa. And this is the primary bathroom. So this is my little haven. I hang out in way too many hours of the day. Once again, we did the Calcutta viola here, which I love, and this really, really dark bronzed hardware as well from Signature Hardware. I just think it really matches the marbles so well. One thing that I had to have in this bathroom, I stayed at this hotel once in Hawaii when I was a teenager, and they built a little lip with the marble above the sink, and I was like, that's so genius because you can put all your products. So this is my makeshift Sephora store, aka my bathroom. I have so many products, it's kind of crazy. And there wasn't a ton of storage, so this is a great place for me to be able to see everything, not forget about an expensive serum that I bought. And I even let my boyfriend have a couple things on his side. So once again, the walls in here are Roman clay as well. The color is called Thumper by Portola Paints. This is actually the same color of the hood that's in the kitchen. We did floor to ceiling as well. I just think it really makes the room feel encapsulated, and it just really elevates it. These mirrors are Signature Hardware as well. I love that they've got the LED light. It almost acts like a ring light. I film all of my Love AJ TikToks in here. So this is the bathroom / wet room that we created. This wall is really short, and I wanted to have a big shower, but also wanted a tub. So this just felt like the best option. So in here we have this amazing Signature Hardware tub, and I just tilted it on the side, but I think it's kind of cute. It kind of feels like a hotel vibe. And then this is the open wet room. So we have the big, ginormous 12-inch rainwater for the shower, which I love. This in juxtaposition with this tile, I think is so gorgeous. It's very unique. I know this isn't like a typical bathroom, but I just think it works so well together. This tile is by Zia Tile and the color is called Absinthe. I really liked the variety as well. You've got some of these darker ones, some of these lighter ones, and then up here, I just did lots of green plants because I think it just really brings the outdoors indoors. This is truly one of my favorite places just to take a break in the middle of the day. I'm known for my 4 p.m. baths. I think it's so fun to get in the bath when the sun is still out, and with the skylight and the tub and the window. It is just the most relaxing vibe ever. So my bedroom obviously was the most important for me because I spend a lot of time in my bed. And I wanted to make the room really feel like a hotel room. So there wasn't a lot of storage, and I thought up this idea of doing this amazing built-in, so it would have the TV plus cabinets and big giant armoires. So I worked with our fabricator and it turned out so amazing. We did this really gorgeous dark wood. I got to have fun with all of like the knobs, and I just think the room literally feels like I've checked into a hotel, and I love that. This is my hotel room, as I like to call it. I really wanted it to feel super luxurious, very zen and peaceful, and I love how it turned out. So let's start with the built-in because I'm actually very proud of this. I drew this on a napkin and got my fabricator to make it, and it turned out so amazing. So we've got the TV here, flanked with these amazing Kelly Wearstler sconces. I did the back of this fluted as well because I felt like it looked like a Soho House hotel room. So I was like, that's a vibe. You know, I've got my little travertine trays and crystals. And then up here, I've got even more tchotchkes and books. I just felt like it added some personality to the whole built-in. Then I've got these amazing ginormous drawers where I fit everything. And the knobs are by Firm Living. They're these really cute little brass mushrooms. And I just felt like they looked like, I don't know, a little piece of Love AJ jewelry. Then I have these amazing ginormous armoires, which you can see here. So I have all my clothes. I can stack all my shoes. So I've got 2 sides, which is great because I have a lot of clothes. And moving to Mandy's jewel box is hard because this place is really small, so I had to edit down what I wear, but it was good for me anyways. This is my bed. I got a custom bed made with Community Manufacturing. They're great because you can pick all of your fabrics, you can pick the exact type of bed that you want. So I just went with like a traditional beige boucle. All of the bedding is parachute. I did a little mix of beige and there's sage, and I think obviously tying in the green was necessary. Side tables are Restoration Hardware. I had lighter beige ones, but I just felt like I needed to tie in like a darker wood to match the built-in. And then the lamps are so sick. These are Soho Home, and it's this amazing big chunky blue marble ridged base. I think it's just really gorgeous and a nice mix of like blues and greens and beiges, and I think it ties in well with the darker tone of the wood. And then this piece next to my bed, this is actually one of the nicest gifts I've ever been given. My sister got me this. This is an original print from Alexander McQueen's designer that did all of his skulls. In like 2001, he started making all this skull jewelry, and I was obsessed with it. So my sister got me an original print from the artist that actually designed the skulls. So yeah, I love it in my bedroom, and I think the pink is kind of fun playing against the beige and the blue. And the rug in the room, no surprise guys, it's Etsy. This is another one from the exact same dealer. I got the red rug in the living room. He just has such amazing stuff. And once again, I needed like a really big area rug, and I didn't want to spend that much money, so it was perfect. It's like a vintage Turkish rug. And now that you've seen my bedroom, I'm gonna take you to the next part of my oasis, which is the backyard. Curating the backyard to make sure it felt like my little oasis was so important. it had a nice amount of space to do little fire pit, outdoor seating, and it has the cutest miniature pool. It's like a pool slash jacuzzi. So I actually did checkered tile all throughout the backyard. And I just think it really, really makes the space look so elevated. And then I went crazy on the landscaping. I was like, let's make it feel like Tulum meets Montecito. So there's lots of lavender, olive trees mixed in with giant palm fronds. I think it's a really special mix of the two kinds of plants. The space is small, but I wanted to make sure I really utilized all the areas of it. This side has the pool slash jacuzzi. It's small, but it heats up so fast. I love using it as a jacuzzi. I put 2 chaises here, so it really did feel like we're at a hotel. I actually lay out here all the time with my laptop and my umbrella, just doing some work when it's really hot during summer. And I was mentioning before, I wanted the landscaping to feel kind of like Montecito meets Tulum, and I feel like we really nailed it back here. We've got some olive trees, which are very Montecito, but then we also have these gorgeous palm fronds, which are very Tulum. And then you can see throughout all the landscaping, I've got pops of purple, pops of yellow. I think it's really nice to have a little bit of color. In the corner, you can see my giant candles. I had these at my old house, except it's been getting so hot, they're kind of melting a little bit, but I just think these are really cool to flank the pool as like a little art piece. And then I had extra Calcutta viola. You guys are probably like, how much marble did this girl buy? But I had my marble fabricator make a top for this little dark bronze side table. This is the same bronze as all the hardware inside, so it really ties it all in. The house came with this really cute mini guest house garage, so I tried to convert it into my mini gym. So I have a treadmill in here, and then the best part, I actually shouldn't tell you guys because now people are going to try to come over all the time, but I put a sauna back here, and I seriously use that thing like 4 to 5 days a week. It's the best. So this is like my health and wellness little mini guest house. Besides hanging out outside by myself all the time, I love to have friends over, pop in the pool, especially when it's super hot. This is the perfect pregame spot if we're going to dinner down the street to Craig's or Cicconi's. Everyone will come here first. We'll have tequilas and just hang out by the fire pit. It is just the best, coziest outdoor spot. I had a vision where I was like, oh, I want to have a dining table. But then I was like, I don't really cook. So this is just perfect. I have a big couch. This whole outdoor living setup is CB2. And then I just put a really nice fire pit out here. During summer months, this is where everyone is. And I wanted to do a mirror outside. I always saw that at people's houses and I just thought that was so cute. So this is a Burke Decor mirror. It's also not for outdoors, so we'll see how long this lasts, but I think it's really pretty. I like how it fills up the wall space, especially when you're sitting here. It just makes the backyard feel so much bigger. What I love the most about my home has to be the front window. So when I was first doing renovations, there was no front window and I didn't even know it was possible, but I talked to my neighbor and he told me that my house used to be all glass. And I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, your whole house was glass, but the last owner changed it and drywalled everything. So I asked my contractor and he was like, we'll open a wall and check it out and see if we can do it. And lo and behold, we were able to put a gorgeous giant glass window right in the front of the house. So it really accents that Australian gum tree that I love. It also creates the most amazing light. And then I made this really lush landscaping moment in the front with all these pots. So when you're in the living room, you almost feel like you're outside, and I love that the most. So when I first got the house, it was actually white, which was fine, but I just felt like painting it green could really add some character to it. So this was the second green color we landed on. If you followed me on Instagram, you saw that I did a poll and I like totally picked the wrong color, painted the whole house this like key lime green. Was not it. So we switched and did this darker green, and I think it's so much better. It really also looks great with the black door. So I love how it turned out. This is the beautiful gum tree that I love. This is what you see through the window. I added some little fancy lights. Those are from Etsy as well. You know I love Etsy. And then I wanted this whole front just to be super lush, super green. So I've started collecting pots. I've had pots in my last few places, so I keep adding more. And yeah, I just have fun going to Rolling Greens and like picking out different plants, and I really love how all of this turned out. Home means comfort, cashmere, and calm. When I'm home, I want to feel like I'm just in my safe place. I feel like I can be relaxed. My home is now the place that I work as well, so it's really important for me that I have different areas where I can kind of change my mindset. Like my bedroom is where I relax and watch TV. My office is where I work. My backyard is where I hang with friends and entertain. So just making sure I just always feel calm, happy, and relaxed at my home is so important to me.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.